I don't think I knew this.
A lot of people don't.
Are we getting an exclusive right now?
And never
heard it here first. Story?
Right.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm so happy about today's guest. She is volleyball royalty. She is my queen. Oh. She's an icon. She's a legend. Olympic gold medalist, Texas X, Texas girl through and through.
Yes. My
friend, Chiaka Ogbogu. Welcome.
Aw, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. You are in your last few days of preparing to go back overseas, and she chose to spend a little time with me, so we're very thankful for her. Before we get into it, I just want to go back to the beginning and talk about your upbringing, and kind of how you found volleyball.
Yes. Well, again, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. My upbringing. So I am a first generation American. Both of my parents were born and raised in Nigeria and immigrated over here in the 80s and found each other in New York. So that being said, I think a lot of like first gen kids have a lot of similar stories, mainly that we essentially raised ourselves in American culture because obviously our parents aren't from here, so they have no idea what American culture was all about. So when it came to education, first of all, Nigerians' education, like they got that down. It's doctor, lawyer, engineer, we got the education. When it comes to things like extracurriculars, sports, like social activities, all of that, we kind of were on our own, especially me being a firstborn, on my own to figure that out. How I found volleyball, in middle school, like a lot of middle schools, you have to have some sort of physical education. Right. And 7th grade was the year when they started like organized sport. Mm-hmm. I was playing basketball through YMCA, a little bit of AAU growing up. All of my friends were in that. So I genuinely just wanted to be with my friends. They told me they were trying out for 7th grade volleyball. So I was like, I'm not about to be left out. I'm going to try out too. Could barely walk and talk and chew gum at the same time, if you can imagine. As every tall woman can remember, I was really gangly, very uncoordinated, was not even good at basketball. I was just tall and lanky. So that year, I made the 7th grade C team literally by the skin of my teeth. I think they only put me there because they needed to fill a quota. But I was chilling because all my friends were playing volleyball. Right. And from then on, I went through the season reluctantly because I knew I was terrible. They told me I should pursue club volleyball. And again, reluctantly, I tried out, made a club team my 8th grade year. And from then, I guess the rest is history.
Okay, so it was purely social for you at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I was with my friends.
Picking up some momentum. And the one thing I wanted to talk to you about especially is because you played at Texas, but you are Texas raised. So like volleyball in Texas at every level is like so quality.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge. Like talk to me a little bit about like the scene there, like club, high school, everything all the way up to like obviously Texas, Baylor. There's some really talented, Division I programs like, but all the way through volleyball players like coming out of Texas. What is it? Something in the water? What are we missing? What are we missing?
Something that we're eating. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the barbecue. No, but as I said like earlier, I was reluctant to try club volleyball mainly because I knew the girls who played club volleyball were serious, and I was like, I'm just here for the vibes. I'm not really here to like make this my thing. I'm still a basketball girl, even though like I wasn't that good at that either. But and I saw it firsthand going into tryouts. These girls are getting there early. They're warming up. I was not a warm-up girl. I was a lace up my shoes. Let's get on the court. What are we doing, girl? But just going through that process, also with my parents, understanding I'm firstborn, there was no blueprint for me. So it was literally, as I'm figuring this out, so are my parents.
Yes,
They're asking me questions. Exactly. They're asking me questions I definitely don't know the answers to. But I think I've always had a competitive nature, and so once I saw how serious other girls took it and how good they were, I was like, why not me? I can be good too. I was super competitive. I wasn't knowledgeable in the sport, but I knew I was athletic from what people were telling me. and I had like a desire to want to be good. So
Right.
once I got in that scene, I mean, it's kind of like birds of a feather. You get around girls who are really serious about the sport, you have no other choice but to also be serious.
Right. You end up deciding to stay in your home state, play for Texas. What ultimately led you to that decision? I mean, obviously Texas is Texas, but what was the sell to you that was like, okay, I want to do this?
Well, I had a very unorthodox recruiting experience. Not a lot of people know this. I don't know if you know this. I was recruited to Cal first.
Okay.
So
I don't think I knew this.
A lot of people don't.
Are we getting an exclusive right now?
Exclusive content.
Never
You heard it here
heard
first.
before story?
Right. I was committed to Cal very early. I think I committed at an age where I didn't really know what I wanted. I was going based off of like voices around me, which, word of advice to all the recruits out there, don't do that.
Yeah.
Take your time. There's a lot of pressure involved, but like you genuinely have more time than you think. I wish someone would have told me that then, but everything works out, you know? So committed for Cal for like a little bit under a year, realized slowly as that was going on, I actually don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And my dream school has always been Texas. You grow up in Texas, either you're Texas A&M or University of Texas. I just remember watching, going into 9th grade, which I actually recently watched the same game. It was Texas versus Penn State in 2009 of the finals. And I remember watching Destiny Hooker score like 38 points in a match. And I was like, I want to go there. I want to be her. Whatever that looks like, I need to go there. So I spoke with my parents, spoke with my club director. They thought I was crazy. I felt crazy because I was like 17 making this decision.
Yeah.
But ultimately decided to decommit and then open up my recruitment, talked to Texas. Luckily, they had another scholarship left in that class, and I signed or committed.
And everything obviously worked out the way that it was supposed to. And, you know, you had a lot of success at Texas. And then during your time at Texas is when USA Volleyball comes into the picture, right? Like college national team, that's where that started for you?
Yeah, definitely. And I honestly had no aspirations of like going through the USA pipeline, mainly because I didn't know enough about it. I luckily, and one of the reasons honestly why I chose Texas, I was surrounded by a lot of girls who looked like me, and that gave me confidence. So I heard a lot of the girls in the Texas program go through like the USA pipeline, the A2 they used to call it, collegiate national team. So I did that my senior year where I met you, which was a very fun, interesting experience.
Yeah, let's take a moment for the people and let's address. Okay, so Chiaka and I go back to, what was that, 2016, 17?
17, I think.
2017 college national team, a trip to Thailand, and it can be described as unforgettable, if you will.
Yes.
Couldn't forget it if you tried.
If you tried, and we
and
did.
And that is where our friendship started. We've been friends ever since. I think we've spent more time together in like foreign countries than we have in the U.S. Like this is maybe like our third time seeing each other on American soil, but like we always find a way to link overseas.
Funny.
But the thing about the Thailand trip, looking back on it, it was such a good testament to overseas volleyball because you had no idea what was happening. Like
it was a
daily.
preview. Yeah.
Yes.
It
like
was foreshadowing almost.
I will never, one thing that always sticks out to me, and this is my favorite story to tell, is like the one day we woke up and they were like, hi, the gym is flooded. We won't have practice today. Like everybody come watch film for like an hour and then like you just are free to go because we like literally can't do anything volleyball related. Like just the gym was just flooded. But then it was still like, okay, but we got to go play this team tomorrow. So make that work.
Exactly. Either way, we were still walking like knees deep in water, in rainwater and whatever else. Was in that water.
And then that was just the beginning of so many of those stories. Let's go back to the overseas life. This is going to be year 5.
Year 5.
Year 5.
Isn't that crazy? I have to remind myself. This is my super senior year.
Yeah, you are a certified veteran. Yeah. This is year 5. You've kind of maybe figured out your stride a little bit. What have you learned about you personally, like as a person going into your 5th year? What do you think, like living in foreign countries, playing in foreign countries, what have you learned about yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I've learned that I'm resilient, and I think I knew that before. I mean, playing in this sport, being a black woman in general, being a black woman in America, but I think it means something different when you're having to travel to another country and understand, like, now there's different societal, cultural norms,
Yes.
and I'm already like the foreigner. I'm already the anomaly, but
Yes.
I'm tall, I'm black, I don't look like most people in the countries that I've played in. So I really had to like look within myself and like find some security, and like you still carry yourself high, like your head high, you still conduct yourself the same way. The people that are gonna gravitate you towards you will always find you, things like that. But I think just keeping an open mind, I think going into it, that was probably the best advice someone could have given me, because I am a stubborn person and I like things a certain way. But as you know, overseas, you got to release that. Like,
You have to. You have to.
Sometimes there is no rhyme or reason. Sometimes things don't make sense, and you almost have to be okay with it for your sanity.
Yes.
So I had to get really good at doing that. And I think now I kind of find that balance of like still like standing up for myself, still like asserting myself in ways where I know I can make things better, but also like being cool with letting things go.
Yes. And I was just going to say, and tell me if you can identify with this or agree on this. I feel like I had to be so much more in touch with my emotions, like your whole range of emotions. Like before I went overseas, and I mean, I'm still this way. I was kind of like, I don't want to say that I'm insensitive or I'm not sensitive, but it's, you know, I'm not like some people. It's just like they cry all the time or they're just a little bit more emotional. But like after my first or second year overseas, I found myself like a dog video. I mean, I will just like burst into tears.
Yes.
It's like a Tuesday after practice and like a dog is doing something cute on the internet and I'm just like uncontrollably crying.
Yes.
And I'm like, what does this mean?
Exactly.
But I think that's also a part of like as corny as it sounds, like finding yourself while you're over there, because you kind of have to also compartmentalize, like you can't let every small thing get to you because you won't make it.
For sure not. Yeah. And I think to your point, just like understanding too that it's a process. And the cool thing about being overseas, like you're isolated a lot of the time. And couple that with the pandemic, like that was straight. People don't know isolation until they played overseas during a pandemic. I'm trying to tell you. But it forced me to like you said, sit with my emotions and sit with myself and allow myself to feel all of those things, which I think later on in life and now is going to help me.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have had that experience had I not played overseas, you know?
So much growth. So much growth.
God for growth.
I want you to tell us what is the most rewarding or your favorite part about living and playing in these foreign countries, and then what is the biggest challenge? Because I think people see like our lives and think like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's really cool. You get to play the sport you love and travel and things like that. And all of those things are true.
For sure.
However, it's like I am not, on my day off, I'm not like hiking the Acropolis. Like I don't just get to like run around. I'm not like hopping to an island if I have like the morning
between
off. You know what I'm saying? Like I think people like see Instagram and think like, yeah, we're just running to the Eiffel Tower and then we're just like
casual
hopping.
afternoon.
Yeah. And we do get to have those moments and experiences, but it's just not always that way. So what would you say are the things that have been, you know, what is most rewarding, but then also what is a big challenge?
Ooh, that's a good question. I live for those off days, like you say, and I think I also was misled going into it. I was like, wait, we actually do practice like 80% of the week. Where are these times for the Eiffel Tower pictures that I keep seeing on Instagram? But I just, all the people that I've met in each country, like I like how I've formed like a little bit of like a family. I'm a really family-oriented person. So I feel like naturally when I go somewhere, like I try to create this little like family situation. And I feel like I've been able to do that in each country that I've played in. So those relationships, I think, is the greatest blessing for me and the thing that I'm going to take away. Because volleyball, it'll come and go. Absolutely. But like the relationships that I've formed, like I'm hoping last beyond the sport.
Yes.
The most challenging, how much time do you got?
We got time. We got all the time.
I know. I mean, I think coming from America, we're used to things, and this is not necessarily a good thing either. We're used to things being like very fast paced, efficient, I guess you could call it. And because of that, I find myself being like a little bit impatient when I'm overseas, like not understanding why things like aren't as quick. But I think, and you can probably attest to this, like especially European countries.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They just have a more like laissez-faire way of life. Like if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't, which is a beautiful lesson sometimes.
Yes.
But I'm like.
But when you're so used to the opposite, it
Exactly.
can be like, what, like.
Stressful.
I will never forget my first year overseas. It was like the bus is leaving at 3. So at 2:45, I'm like, you know,
College time. 2:45, I'm low-key late.
Yeah. Like I'm on the bus. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting. My bags are packed. All that. At 3:30, our bus driver is like lighting a cigarette, offering like everyone coffee.
The second
Do you
coffee
want
break.
like a pastry? Like wheels have not turned.
No, bags aren't even on. People aren't even pulling.
Oh
into the parking lot.
No, we've got one girl. She's just got here.
Yeah.
I mean, I like could not believe it,
Yes.
and that's another thing that I've had to be so much better about because like I am a schedule, I am an itinerary,
Same.
like I need a ETA, like what are we doing?
Exactly.
And it's just not always like that over there.
No.
But like you said, there's beauty in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it forces me to kind of relax a little bit because like also me being a very time-oriented person, very schedule-based person, like it kind of causes a little bit of anxiety. So I think it's allowed me to like relax in that sense of like, at the end of the day, even if we leave 2 hours past scheduled time, we're going.
We're going, and we're gonna get there, and it's gonna happen.
Things gonna be set up, and it'll be okay.
Absolutely.
So let me just get a book, put a show on, and wait for the girls to come on the bus.
Yes,
basically.
exactly. And we have been like really privileged in the sense that we've got to play all over the world. So we've seen how diverse volleyball can be. I think America, the US is catching up
For sure.
to that. And in that process, let's just be candid, there's been growing pains.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at the landscape of Division I college volleyball, a lot of the coaches are middle-aged white men.
Yes.
We
both played for.
Yes, we all played
Yeah.
we both played for middle-aged white men who,
Yes.
I mean, great coaches,
Incredible
great people.
Yeah.
But when you're coming into college as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old black girl, I mean, there can be a lot of disconnect, and that's
For
not,
sure.
I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
How do we further the education? What does that look like? Because we're seeing volleyball's growing so fast, and with the growth is coming more diversity. So how can we, like top to bottom, organizations, players, coaches, what do you think could be beneficial for people in those positions?
Yeah, I mean, I can't necessarily speak on like an organizational level, like the top level, but I think from, I guess you could say like the bottom level, like you and I, we are examples and we don't even know it sometimes. And it's really cool when we get opportunities to talk to like young black girls about the sport. Like a lot of people look up to us, and I think knowledge is power. So as much as I can, I try and remind myself, I try and set up like meetings with teams, like give information because people won't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And in order to succeed and create diversity in the sport, like people have to know what they're getting themselves into, and they have to know what they're looking forward to also. So I think it just starts with like us being as candid and open as possible with these groups so that these girls want to come play volleyball, or they understand that they can play volleyball.
Yes.
Like most, I think, middle school to high school age girls like probably don't know much about the pro scene. And that's partially because we obviously don't have a league in America yet, but that could also be due to the fact that there's a little bit of a disconnect too between the pro scene and like the youth scene.
Yes.
So maybe there could be stuff done on that level. And then as far as like organizational, like hire more black people. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it starts
when
with-
you
yeah.
I mean, just like speaking plainly, and I know from at Kentucky, our coaches were very intentional about like we have to have the conversations, and even when they're uncomfortable or we don't like it, like I remember we specifically had a conversation about police brutality, and it was like the Kaz Brown show, and then like a few other people, and then a lot of people just like sitting in silence, not knowing like, can I share?
things.
Should I share? What do I say? I don't feel like I have a place here, you know, but we had the conversation, which is the first step, right? Like we cannot just act like these things aren't happening. Cause I think people a lot of times want to say, oh, we want to keep our sports and our politics separate, but we are human beings.
Yeah.
And like when people see us on the street, like we are Black women first and
Before
foremost. Before we're
anything
volleyball
else.
players,
Yep.
before we're college alumni or gold medalists. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's what we are first and foremost. So I think, like you said, we have to have the conversations, and you have to be looking to diversify your staff. You know, like if you're having a meeting and everyone looks just like you, then something probably is off.
Yeah, you need to look inwards on why that is. And I give credit to Texas Volleyball and Jared. Like, he understands that he is a middle-aged white man.
Yes.
Like, there are just certain things he's not going to be able to understand.
Right.
Coming from like a 19 to 22-year-old young Black girl. So he's made it upon himself to employ Black coaches.
Right.
When I first got in there, Salima Rockwell was there, and then afterwards Tanya Johnson, who's now the head coach at LSU. Salima's now the head coach at Notre Dame, which, like, yes, that's what I mean, hire Black women.
Right.
But he understood that he's going to have like essentially a sort of a buffer to help like facilitate also those conversations so that he could learn too. So I really appreciate that, and I think there's something to be said about diversifying your staff. I know it's not always possible. There's so many caveats sometimes, but I think in general, like you can only win in that situation.
Absolutely.
Like, more information is given. The more information we have, the better that we can act on things. So I think in general, just diversifying staff is also a good step for the organizational level.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely. And I want to go back and revisit the Olympics a little bit because you and I haven't even really talked about it so much.
You haven't.
You are an Olympic gold medalist. Has it even sunken in? Like, when I say that, is it like, oh yeah, that's right? Like, have you processed it?
I don't know if I have, mainly because, as you know, the club season waits for no one.
Oh yes.
So it was like, yes, we won the gold medal, celebrate with family and friends at home. About a week and a half later, I was back overseas.
Get on the plane.
And business as usual.
Right.
So I think I allowed myself, once I got overseas, to really decompress, because once we came back from the Olympics, naturally everyone and their mother who knows you wants to come congratulate you and hear about your experience, and that was amazing. It made me feel so connected and loved. I know there were so many people who were supporting me.
Yes.
So it was cool to give back in a sense, have people touch the medal and wear the medal and take pictures, my neighbors. That for me was the coolest thing. But it still doesn't feel real, honestly. People will say it and I'm like, oh shoot, yeah. Maybe it's because I don't have the medal on me at all times, because I can't be trusted.
I was gonna say, where
cannot.
is it a top secret location? Do you just
It's safe,
okay,
but it's never on me, so
yeah,
it
can't, it can't be, it couldn't be.
I can't be trusted with that type of hardware.
I don't blame you. At the Olympics, you were obviously surrounded by, top caliber athletes. Was there one in particular that you were kind of looking for, or was there one in particular that you met and was kind of like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to freak out, but that was pretty cool?
Ooh, I met a couple, but one, I don't know if I regret not going up to her, because she looked like she was in the zone, and I really did not want to be that girl. We're all there for the same reason.
Exactly.
As I'm preparing for big matches, so was she. But Naomi Osaka, I saw her in the lunchroom, and I couldn't eat my lunch. I was visibly staring at her. She probably saw me at one point. But she left. We happened to leave around the same time, and still we were all walking to the same area, where the dorms are all set up. And me and a couple of my teammates were just behind her, in awe, little creepy fangirls. But I wish, probably in hindsight, I would have at least said hi.
Yes.
But I think it's so funny. It's a tricky balance of trying to be professional and respectful of other people's
because you
space.
you guys are all there for the same reason, like you said, so you guys are all on the same playing field.
Yes, my mom was saying that. She's like, why don't you say hi? Y'all are all there for the same
what
reason.
What a mom thing to say,
right.
you know?
I'm like, Mom, do you know who that is?
It's why don't you just call Beyonce?
Exactly.
And ask her when
She's
the album drops.
You don't have her number? Why don't you just text
DM her?
Literally, that is my mother. And I was like, Mom,
that's not quite how it works.
It's a little different. But yes, in a sense, I should also feel I earned the right to be here. We're all kind of on the same playing field. But some people, though, deserve that respect.
Deserve a little something.
I gave it to her.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. And I want to talk about your interests outside of volleyball because you're a volleyball player, but you're also so many other things. So how do you spend your free time? How do you decompress? How do you relax? Like, what are you doing on an off day?
Yes, so I think in this like season of everyone screaming like soft life, like overseas forced me to find a soft life, to decompress. And when I'm there, it sometimes involves like connecting with people back home just to feel that type of connection, but also like journaling within myself. I picked up journaling when I was overseas. Prayer, meditation is really good for me. And then something I challenged myself to do once the pandemic started and I realized like I don't have any hobbies is to find some. So I started to think more about like what I wanted to do after my pro season or my pro career was over. And I still don't have it like narrowed down to one thing, but like I, especially during the pandemic in the height of like all of the social injustice movements, like I realized like how deeply that connected to me and how passionate I was about educating people. Not that I know everything, but like how passionate I was about at least directing people to the people who did know what they were talking about. So whatever that looks like, I always tell people I would love to be involved in something that like intersects race, culture, and sports, because I think there's a lot of like intersection between it. Like you said, people try and separate the things, but it can't happen.
It's all so intertwined.
It's all intertwined. We're human, and all of our experiences, shared experiences, is why fans connect to the game. They connect also because we're great players, but like our stories behind the game is why people connect. So I would love to be involved in something that kind of just shines like a light on the intersectionality of all of those things.
For sure. Amazing. You're just the best. You're my favorite.